All right, we are recording. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the Volume Up podcast. I am one half of your host, Zach.
I am the other half. My name is Gian.
So, this is kind of just a collection of things that we've been dealing with, things that we're looking forward to, just kind of a recording to look back on once we're a little older. I will be posting this to my personal YouTube, and around the same time, I'll actually be releasing a vlog from this weekend. But yeah, so quick little backstory. Gian and I have been friends since we were about 6 months old. Our families were friends first. Currently, we're both 22 years old, which is crazy. Gion's finishing college this semester, right?
Yeah, and we've been friends now for over 20 years, which is pretty fucking crazy.
Crazy, crazy. We are both deaf and hard of hearing. We grew up. That's actually how we met. Is the deaf and hard of hearing
We were in an
program?
early start program, bro.
Yeah, yeah. What was it like? Preschool, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So basically, what that means is we went to the same schools, had pretty much the exact same classes for most of our schooling, I would say, until we took a few different classes in middle school, but high school was relatively the same as well.
yeah, except I was a little dumber in math, but that's
What
fine.
are you talking about, bro? You took advanced math in middle
Yeah, and then I
school?
flunked that.
Oh my god. But yeah, so same classes, same teachers, same schools, which is awesome because it's like, I don't know, that's the dream for me, right? Like you get to do all this stuff and it's just a given with your best friend.
Yeah, dude, we get to cheat on tests together. And now we're in the same college together, which is
I know,
crazy.
I know. That's crazy. You actually got there first. You went straight into a 4 year. I did 2 years at Dianza and then transferred to the same school. But yeah, so like I said, currently we're both 22, kind of at the end of our college careers. A little personal intro about myself. Super into vintage, love coffee, love animals. What about you?
I'm gonna keep this PG. I really love watches right now. I'm too poor to afford some, but my grail is a vintage Omega Seamaster from the 60s. So if future Gian is watching it with one of those on your wrist, I made it. Congrats. I'm
Yeah.
also really into dogs and cats, and growing up with Zach as my best friend, I was fortunate enough to meet a lot of his now deceased animals.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, but yeah, I think we both are really into vintage. We're going to a crazy flea market tomorrow.
The Alameda Vintage Fair, the creme de la creme.
Yeah, this is the first vintage shirt that I found at the bins.
Oh yeah, let's do a quick little fit check. We're kind of like in our PJs right now, but I'm wearing this is just some random vintage flannel I found when I was living out in Idaho for a bit, which we'll cover a little bit later on in the podcast. Underneath, I got a vintage ACDC ball breaker tour that I got from a shop in Stockton. Shout out Stockton 9, all the guys out there. I have some vintage corduroy Levi's on right now because I did not bring shorts. And then just got a little bit of jewelry here. I don't have my watch on right now, but it's over there somewhere. What
Yeah,
about you? What's the fit check from?
the fit check is this and some athletic shorts.
That's right. We're keeping
That's
it
it.
comfy. Okay, so we kind of did a brief little intro. Current and like relatively recent life updates. What's been going on with you?
So around like a month to a month and a half ago, I started jujitsu. I really have been trying to get into it for 3 years, but I finally got the balls to try out a class. Got my ass kicked, but I loved it. Then I've been getting my ass kicked like every single class, but it's really cool. I got a rib injury. I got an ankle sprain. Got some thumb ligament issue that I'm dealing with right now, but I'm sticking through it because I want to be a black belt one day. But more importantly, I want to learn how to manipulate my body to manipulate other people's bodies.
Yeah, that's not sus at all. Like just a little interjection here. Like, so obviously with the Deaf and Hard of Hearing program, right? Like we were hanging out like every day, like 24/7, like except for the weekends, and even then, mostly weekends too. But recently with college, with all these things going on, we both have jobs, we both have like our girlfriends. Shout out them. Um, with all these things going on, we're kind of like leading our own separate lives now for once, which has been really cool because every time we see each other we catch up. It's like old times, nothing's changed. But every time I see this fool, I swear to God, it's a new injury. Something's broken, something's torn, something's sprained. Like, I think like what in the last like 2 months we probably hung out like four times.
Mm-hmm.
Four times. Each one of those times, fuck, dude, my ankle is sprained during jujitsu. Oh shit, dude, I've been having back problems during jujitsu. Like, I didn't even know about the thumb thing. This is new too, so it's another injury.
Yeah, my car broke down for like the third time.
Oh my god, yeah, no, tell him about that. Tell him about that.
All
That's a good
right,
one.
so I was with my girlfriend going home. We were about to study, and one turn from the freeway, my engine kind of broke down. I couldn't go past 20 miles an hour. My engine light started blinking, and it was crazy. It was so insane that this problem has been occurring the whole time, and we spent like $1,000 to fix it, but it keeps recurring. So what I ended up doing is exchanging it for a brand new 2022 Mitsubishi, and it's got tiny ass wheels, but I love it.
Yeah, I finally got to check it out today. We were driving around trying to sell some clothes, get some cash for the market tomorrow, and so Gion's been driving us around SJ, since I'll be taking us to Alameda tomorrow. And so first time seeing the car, still got that brand new car smell. God, I love it. But yeah, it's a pretty cool car.
Yeah, hopefully nothing's
Hopefully
wrong with
it
it.
lasts. Oh my god, dude.
But another update that I wanted to let y'all know is this is my last semester in undergrad, so
Congrats.
finally, hopefully being done. If I get my degree, I'll have a semester off and a summer off before I start master's or a doctorate program in OT. I really want to be an OT. I really want to rehabilitate people from the hand all the way up to the shoulder. I've sustained a fair share of injuries, so I know how it feels like to not be functional, and I kind of want to help others in that way too.
And for those of you who don't know, an OT is an occupational therapist. He explained a little bit about like what they focus on, with the hand all the way up to the shoulder. But yeah, dude, that's awesome. Like, so I have a quick question for you, right?
So,
Like, so I knew you were considering the master's program, with grad school and all that, but like a doctorate.
yeah. So what I learned about doctorate is like a big goal of mine is to become a professor. I really want to educate like young young people who are very capable, and I've always wanted to be able to teach, but unfortunately, if I have a master's degree, I need to get like a post professional doctorate or a PhD in order to teach at college. But if I have an OTD, which is a doctorate in occupational therapy, I'll be able to teach in colleges without having to go back to school. So it's a year extra,
Uh-huh.
and I have to do like more research based stuff, and I have to write a thesis, a capstone project. But that's something I'm considering because like if it's a year more, I don't have to go back to school, and I already am qualified to do what I want to do down the road. Like I should probably like look into it a bit. How about
Yeah,
you? Like
definitely.
what kind of stuff are you trying to be in the future?
Okay, well, so right now, I my second to last semester. I'm hoping to be done in the spring. I'm a psychology major. Gian's a kinesiology major. And I'm trying to become a licensed MFT, which is a marriage and family therapist. Um, I guess my goal for the future, I don't think would be to run my own practice, but with the licensure in like the MFT field, you can operate as your at the very least you can operate like with somebody who has their PhD in that field, so you can work very closely with them. I'm not 100% sure if you can actually practice on your own with a master's, but like, see, the interesting thing is, right, like, with any type of therapy right now, it's the field has changed so much because of the pandemic. Before it was all like in person meetings, in person sessions, but now with the pandemic, Zoom therapy sessions have, or any other sort of like video conferencing platform, have become like the way to go, which is awesome because it really opens up the space for who you can take on as a patient or as a client. So one of my current professors, like, before it was all like local patients, or people would kind of commute to see her, but with the pandemic, with this, like, her moving her practice online as well, she has some clients who are on the East Coast. She has clients who are like all over the US. So that's really great. But yeah, I guess in terms of like my future plans, what I want to do, um, I would like to, you know what? Yeah, I'll just say, like, as a goal, I would like to have my own practice, whether or not that'll require a PhD, which, to be completely frank, I don't want to do. Like, already getting my master's is kind of like a big, sorry, I'm just gonna move this real quick, just level it a bit. Yeah, like, getting my master's is gonna be a pretty big process because in order to get your MFT license, you need a minimum of 3,000 hours, which is insane. I can't even like imagine like how much time that would take, you know. So, yeah, but the goal is I want to go into marriage and family therapy. That is currently what I am most passionate about. If and with that sort of thing, it can branch out into other things. Like, I can do HR for a big company. I can go into social work. So really, with a master's in that area of psychology, like, you can do a lot. So unfortunately, you can't do much with a bachelor's in psychology. Like, I don't want to stop at like the high school grief counselor. Like, dude, that would
Respect though.
respect them, absolutely. It is a difficult job, but for me, that is not something I see as a career for myself. Like, I respect the people who do it because it is not an easy job, and I know it doesn't make a lot of money. So the people who do it, who are truly passionate about it, like, props to them. But as of right now, that's not really my goal.
Dude, that's pretty crazy. Like, I wonder if even 5 years ago, how how our younger selves would react to what we just said.
Oh, let's see. Where were we 5 years ago? That was
Like,
2017.
yeah, maybe like
We were juniors.
juniors, maybe like start of seniors now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, at that time, fully focused on badminton. I was not. I mean, I was a decent student, but like in terms of grades, but like in terms of like being school oriented, nah, dude, that was not there for me. You were pretty school oriented. You were in like a bunch of clubs and stuff.
Yeah, well, that was just like school. I think I found passion in that because I could help others through those clubs. And school was just something to get through. I wasn't really like passionate unless it was a really like fun teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but I think it would be really interesting to have a conversation with our younger selves.
Oh
What if
yeah.
we had like a talk with us when we were like kids? Because we go back like so long ago, bro. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And kind of on that level, keeping with the theme of in the future, what kind of jobs did you want as a kid? Because I really wanted to be a diamond hunter. I would like
That's
go in.
oddly
Dude,
specific.
I was obsessed with diamonds. Shout out Ashley. She would like give me some of the diamonds on her pants, and I would go to Claire's in the mall and then just
Oh,
crawl
like
on
the
the floor.
rhinestones?
Yeah, I had a whole box collecting diamonds.
I have a really vague memory of that. That's crazy. Oh, dude, younger me, what job did I want? How young are we talking?
Maybe like elementary school.
How, I think it was like something really cliche, like an astronaut. What was it? I wanted to be a vet, bro. Yeah, because I really wanted to take care of animals. I loved it, but I don't really know whatever happened with that. I think, like I think I would have made a great vet. But like I think yeah, like once I got in to that whole like stage of our lives in high school where you're really thinking about like what are the majors that are available. I honestly like okay, I went into Dianza as a kinesiology major too. I took a couple intro classes that first quarter. Boom, not for me. I wanted to follow in my mom's footsteps. She's a home health physical therapist, and bro, woman makes bank. So I was just like damn, like that. Yeah, yeah, like I'm like all right, go mom, like. And like my mom and I never really saw eye to eye on the whole academics. She and my older sister are brilliant, brilliant academically driven individuals. And like I think for me, I was never really focused on school stuff. So yeah, because of that, there was some friction between my mom and I. And when she asked what I wanted to do, I never had an answer. So, you know, for whatever reason, when I went into Deanza, I was just like, fuck it, I'll just follow what she did. I'll go into kinesiology. And that is the worst thing to do when it comes to like choosing a major. Like, don't like pick things just because like somebody else wants that. Because you're not going to be passionate about it. Like, literally, after the first quarter, dropped that major. And I was like, well, in high school, the class I enjoyed like the most that stuck with me was psychology. So I was like, why not that? Like, I think I would make a great therapist. Like, my parents used to joke about it all the time. But yeah, like, so I guess younger me, man, I don't know. If I really thought about it, I don't think I would have been too surprised. But I think younger me would be surprised that I have a plan now. Because yeah, I don't know. I don't really like change personally. Not for everything, only like some aspects of things. But so I think for me, planning was never my strong suit. But what about you? Like, let's say you were talking to your younger self, right? Obviously, you're not a diamond hunter now. Like, do you think younger you would have been proud of where you're at now?
That's a great question. I think younger me would not know what the hell OT is. But after maybe a few sentences, I think I think I'd be proud of myself because just like the core of it is helping others gain independence in activities of daily living. So, what I really want to do is help people get back to doing stuff that's meaningful to them. It could be like playing guitar, it could be like not safe for work stuff. But if they want it, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna empower you to get there. And
Awesome.
I think like in my internships, because I had a 6 month internship and now I'm doing like a 2 to 3 month other one, I've seen people in their most vulnerable and weakened state, like really uncertain if they would ever get back to what they were doing before, and just seeing them work really hard and seeing the OT like work really hard coming up with creative modalities and seeing their improvements week after week, not only like their physical but mental improvements too. It was amazing. It was so inspiring, and I think I would be really proud of myself. And it's really cool because we're working on it. We're in the stage of life where nothing is certain. Change is so imminent, and it's everything is kind of like putting puzzles together where we don't even know what the end product is supposed to look like. And yeah,
It's certainly a trip. Certainly a trip. But you know,
certainly
like,
a shroom trip.
oh my god. Yeah, that's a way to put it.
That's another story.
Yeah, maybe for another time. Another time, different episode. Um yeah. So I guess really quick a little, and it's not really a life update, but given that this is our first episode and we're kind of like introducing ourselves and all that, something that was like really big in my life within the last year was I had moved out briefly to Idaho to live with my foster brother, my brother, and his girlfriend. I think part of it at the time was I felt that it would be a good experience to move out of my parents' house, live on my own for a bit, and really experience a different part of the United States. Like currently we're in the Bay Area. Well, we're very fortunate to be here. It's a extremely diverse area, extremely diverse. And when I moved out to Idaho, we were about 15 to 20 minutes away from Coeur d'Alene, which is up north.
Beautiful.
Wait, what?
I was saying like it's so beautiful there.
Yeah, no, it's like I don't even know how to describe it. Like like being in the Bay Area, we're in a very urban area, so like obviously we're not that far away from like areas with a lot of nature, but when you're in Idaho, at least the part I was living in, it was just like surrounded by nature. So that was really the best part of the experience, I would say. I moved last year. It was 2021, about mid August. I think it was like August 15th or something. And then I stayed until like mid December. So what is that, about 5 months? And it was, or I guess I'm sorry, like 4.5. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. I was planning on staying out there for about a year, but yeah, after the amount of time that I was there, I was just like, this area. Of course, I was homesick. That area would have been better with friends. So I decided to move back, and I had in-person classes back in school. So I was like, okay, well, there's a good reason to come back. But while I was out there, I worked as a vocational coach for adults with autism and other developmental disabilities. Basically, I would just go to their jobs and make sure they were hitting all the goals that they set with my company, to make sure they were improving their work performance and just kind of bettering their quality of life, I suppose, which was very different. I had only ever worked in retail before that. I think I worked at Target for like 3 years before that job.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, dude, Target. I swear, was supposed to be a 5 month max job. Nah, dude. I don't know how. I think I just kind of like it was. I was earning money, and then the pandemic hit, and I was just like, everybody's getting laid off right now. Like it's a for sure income, and like it's a disposable income for me. So I was like, I think I just ended up staying. But 3 years, dude. So 3 years in retail and then working like this social work kind of job. It was a really eye-opening experience, and I think it really showed me how much I wanted to be going towards that line of work, which eventually led me to the marriage and family therapy idea, because like you said earlier, like at the core of it, like helping people is what we want to do. But yeah, so Idaho was awesome. The vintage out there is untouched. It's so good. Like,
Straight from the source.
straight from the source. And yeah, shout out Alex over at Warren Culture. He does awesome stuff. He yeah, he recently opened up his own shop. So I'm hoping at some point to fly back out there to not only visit my brother and his girlfriend, but also to check out Alex's new space. Shout out Gas and Grain over there. Yeah, they were some of the first and only friends I made when I moved out there.
Dude, when I visited you for like maybe like a weekend, and I was like honestly pretty nervous because I look Asian, bro, and I thought everyone was gonna be like racist MAGA hat loving people, but dude, they were so nice, they were so welcoming, and it was a very great experience. And like I just made this realization, but definitely you and Aaron living in Arizona and Idaho opened me up to like being able to see myself living in other parts of the US for like school in the future.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that experience, even though it was a weekend, it was like very eye opening.
Yeah, dude. I was gonna say like I'm not sure when, but I was planning on going back out there to visit them sometime, uh, relatively soon, and I was gonna say we should both go.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
it's like 20 minutes away from Spokane in Washington, which has a bunch of awesome spots for vintage. I can't remember the name of the one that we went to. We took that picture out in front where it says like, um, nothing keeps us awake like the vintage we didn't buy, something like that.
Yeah, dude. Was it like teleport?
No, no, that was the other one. Um, it'll come to me later, but
Dude, I just started my application to a school in Spokane.
oh, dude, dude, take it. I love Washington. Like, actually, I do think like the Seattle area, maybe Spokane, honestly, would be one of like the top places I'd want to live. Like after college and everything. Like, oh, beautiful out there. I love it. The vintage, awesome. The weather, totally like my vibe. But yeah, bro, you're gonna get cold out there.
Dude, I know, but like I got that field jacket. I got some outerwear, bro, and I'm hoping to get some more at the Alameda fair.
Matia, bro.
But okay, so before talking about like our plans tomorrow,
Yeah, yeah.
let's speak a little bit on what we love about like old clothes.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So you were the one who introduced me to vintage, and honestly, like my first impression was like, why the fuck am I gonna like these old clothes with like oil stains and tattered?
Paint splatters, rips.
But then after getting exposed to it for a long time, I realized how much better the quality is and how much more like unique it looks, how much better it fits, how much longer it lasts. And I think like also they make those clothes for like people who kind of like fit like us, like
Yeah.
not those,
Not like super tall, skinny. Yeah, yeah,
or like the other side of the spectrum, super big like
yeah.
McDonald's every day. But yeah, I think like I fell in love with the fades. I'm a very pattern driven person. I love the textures, and it's so unique. Like when I wear vintage, I feel like I feel like so special.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a really easy way to kind of make your style unique. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think how long have I been into vintage now?
Since the pandemic, right?
Before that,
Oh, really?
yeah, it was I think I was just beginning to get into it right after high school. I was into it in high school too. But I think my style was more like the streetwear, kind of thing, because you actually, it's funny, you exposed me to streetwear, but then you got out of it as I was getting into it. But I was always into thrifting, so I was exposed to vintage. But man, dude, I wish I was into vintage back then like I am now, because I'm sure I missed out on some bangers. Because like right now, like the whole thing is, and I kind of want to get your like quick opinion on this. We're at the half an hour mark here, so kind of wanted to get your quick opinion on this. Fast fashion right now and TikTok kind of bombing the market on vintage. Opinions.
Okay, so I think the more exposure that it gets, it's a double-edged sword for sure. Like, you're not gonna see bangers like that Godzilla tee in Goodwills anymore.
Don't remind
Everything
me.
is gonna be more upcharged. But I think ultimately, like, the more people are exposed to the styles and trends back then, the more moving forward it is better for society. And honestly, actually, as I say it, I'm kind of like thinking contradicting thoughts. Like, these fast fashion people are just gonna like make everything else, send it to China for like labor children to sew for like 30 cents a day, and then upscale that like
Are
really
you
shitty
talking
made.
about like vintage lookalikes?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
But honestly, if that's more accessible for people, because you can't really, not everyone has the time to source for stuff,
That's very true.
which is, it's like, dude, I don't even have an opinion about it. It's just, it goes so many different ways. How about you?
Okay. I kind of want to. Here, I'll start real quick with why like I love vintage. Why I've been into it for the past like 4 or 5 years. So for me, right, like with the whole streetwear thing, I was into designer for a little while. All of this was like way, way out of my price range. So all the stuff I was getting was still thrifted. So it was more affordable, but it was like just in general, like, I wasn't getting the new drops. I wasn't going for like these crazy shoes. It was just more like what I could find at like thrift and consignment stores, what I could trade for, all that, which I honestly think was a really cool experience because it made me more comfortable with putting myself out there on different platforms. But I love vintage because one, it's like more sustainable, like the eco-friendly part of it, like the whole reduce, reuse, recycle kind of thing, like but the biggest part of it for me is the fact that you're taking something that in some cases was loved loved to death by the previous owner, and then you're giving it a whole nother life, like it's a whole nother chapter of a book. And I think that's really cool because like when we wear clothes, when we put our like like when you see distressings on the knees of pants, that like because you've been kneeling in the same spot for months and months and months, it's cool to see that kind of combination of stories being put together into an article of clothing. And for me, clothing has been the best way for me to express my individuality, I would say, because like I was saying earlier, we grew up in the deaf hard of hearing program together. Currently, I'm wearing the headphones, you can't see it, but I do have one ear. I was born that way. And it was, it's something I've grown to be comfortable with and proud of now. But obviously, growing up, kids are mean. Kids are mean. And so I was insecure about it for a while, and it was hard for me to find ways to express myself. And thrifting and vintage really gave me that, like, outlet, I would say.
Yeah, dude. And one thing that like being into these types of clothes kind of made me appreciate more is not only like the clean look of the world, but also the rugged, the old, the outdated parts. Like, an old building to me just looks so much more interesting than
Yeah.
it did like 3 years ago.
I think right now, with the way our world is going, everything is geared towards efficiency. It's geared towards like sharp, modern lines. And a lot of this is really cool. And I think it's, like kind of an obvious progression as time moves forward. But I think like you and me, like we really appreciate those old designs, those old use of materials, like all these like older things, because it kind of, the fact that they've lasted till now is a testament to its quality, which is, yeah, it's a great reason why I love vintage, and I wanted to share that with you because like I think you hold a deeper appreciation for these kinds of things than many people do. And I kind of saw that with how like when you have an interest, you fully dive into it. Like I'm talking like straight into the deep end, no flippers. And I thought that was really cool because I remember, when I would get a new piece, I would kind of like tell you the history of like, oh, when did they first start making this style of thing, like why is it so popular, why I like it so much. And I could really see that you were listening, even if it wasn't something that was your style at the time. But when I saw you slowly starting to get into it more, did you hit that point that like I'm sure everybody who's into thrifting has hit, like where you were just buying piece after piece after piece, man? Like it's
Crazy.
definitely slowed down by a lot. But yeah, quickly to wrap up this thought before we get into our plans for tomorrow, the big day. Yeah, fast fashion and TikTok kind of blowing up thrifting and vintage. So the negative part of it for me personally is like you said, the prices and value of everything has changed. You can say that kind of with any product, I guess, that goes viral. you know um, so it's made it a lot less accessible to people, in my opinion, because the prices of everything have gone up, right? So the more expensive things are going to get, the less accessible it is to people, even though it's all around us. And of course, with that happening, how can we stop fast fashion from kind of being at the forefront, right? Because they're producing all these vintage lookalikes of like stuff that people want, but at like a fraction of the price. And what I think is, honestly, like really terrible about that, because, you're talking about like, you know, horrible labor laws, horrible working conditions, and like all this waste of material, is that like how can you blame somebody for buying something that's like a $20 reprint of a shirt that's worth like 1,000? Because for so many people, nobody's gonna spend 1,000 like on a t-shirt,
Mm-hmm.
except for the people who truly love and appreciate the product and who have that money. But a lot of people don't. So it's hard to kind of knock that. But I think that could be a whole episode on its own.
Yeah, and I think the difficult thing about vintage that which debate sets it apart from others, it's, for example, if like badminton gets super popular, so many people are going to make content about that, so many more people are going to learn and get better at badminton. But with vintage, there's a finite amount of it, and there's never going to be more ever.
Yeah.
And so one good thing that comes out of it is people appreciate the history behind it. People appreciate the look, and they get into it a lot more. But you bring up a really great question. How how do we stop fast fashion if there's a limited amount of like true
Vintage.
vintage?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a question within a question that is just, it's a very difficult thing to answer, right? Because it's like you said, there's a finite amount. Like true vintage, it's subjective to a lot of people. I think for us, because we relatively agree, like anything from like the 40s to the 70s is like true vintage. Usually for a lot of people, it stops at the 60s. So 60s and before would be considered true vintage for a lot of people. I think for me, vintage would be considered anything into the late 90s. But after, like Y2K, like 2000s and onwards, I don't really consider that vintage. Even though technically, right, if a shirt is made in like 2005, that's like almost 2 decades old.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested to see where the whole vintage market is in like 10 years from now, right?
Yeah. I think one maybe like little solution that we might have is supporting those small businesses who try their best to recreate while appreciating the history, having like employees that they really respect and support, and having like a curation of things that pays homage to the ways things were created in terms of like quality of clothing, maybe materials and the way the stitching is.
Yeah, like the actual production. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like I was definitely on this like little binge of like, oh well, like why? Like I don't want to wear anything modern, anything like currently available in retail. I just want to wear vintage, and I did that for a while, and then obviously that's not like that is something you could do forever if you wanted to, but then I was just like, I'm missing out on a lot of these great quality pieces that really do pay, like you said, homage to the originals. Like I packed a shirt today. I think it's made by the Bronson Brothers. It's a company that does a lot of like reduxes of like old vintage pieces. So the type of cotton they use, the way it's produced, and it's amazing. It's an amazing piece. I really do like it. So I have been trying to look into more like you said, small companies who really do a good job of not like replicating or imitating, making fakes, just like making sure that that quality and that craftsmanship is continued.
Yeah. So we're waking up at like 4:30 tomorrow. And
Yeah.
honestly, I have a little gauge of what to expect, but I don't know what to expect. Why is Alameda like so cool?
Okay. So yeah, like you
And
said.
what is it?
Okay. Good question. Good question. So, for those of you who don't know or have maybe heard about it before but don't really like know what it is, the Alameda Vintage Fair, Vintage Market, whatever you want to call it, is basically a massive flea market on like in like the Alameda Boatyard area. So it's just on a dock. Like I don't even know how big the area is, but it's just like hundreds of vendors, massive. I think I've been 3 times now, I want to say. It's on the first Sunday of every month, and it's a big flea market. Anything from clothes, toys, furniture. There is a heavy emphasis on clothing and like housewares, stuff like that. Anything from true vintage, all the way to like modern stuff. It's just such a huge variety. Now you asked, like, why is it so great, right? I would say it's really great for people like us who don't have ready access to true vintage unless it's on secondhand selling platforms like Depop, eBay, Grailed, like things like that, or over Instagram even. So the Alameda Vintage Fair is kind of like a somewhat nearby place that we can go to and see these items in hand, feel them, and like purchase them if we want to. So why do we have to wake up at 4:30 a.m.? It's currently like almost 10:30 the night before. So the event opens its gates at 6 a.m., but people are in line to buy tickets like shortly after 5, I think. Vendors are getting there even earlier to set up. But yeah, we're waking up at 4:30, or hopefully heading out by then because it's about a 50-minute drive from where we are right now. So it's a little bit of a trip. But yeah, you want to get there, you want to make sure you have a good parking spot, and then you have to line up to buy the tickets. Entry is like $20 that early in the day. Like if you wait until like after 12, I think the price drops. But the thing is, like just like any other flea market, you want to get there early because all the good pieces are still there. People go that early. A lot of resellers do because they know that they can find the bangers, the fire pieces, and like workout deals, like early bird deals sometimes. And basically just stock up on all the good stuff before the crowds really get there. So some of the things to expect, right? Like, something that you and I privately talked about earlier was we're looking for outerwear, right? We're getting into winter now. It's been getting a lot colder in the mornings. Personally, I'm a huge fan of fall winter because that's really like, I think from a fashion standpoint, fall and winter is like the best time for like vintage fashion because you can layer, you can really get fitted like, like flannels, like outerwear, like jackets. There's just a lot more options, versus summer, especially in the area we live in where it can get pretty hot. But yeah, so some of the things to expect, man. If it's anything like it was the last time I went, a lot of vintage military items, huge variety of pants. You got denim, you got trousers of different materials, HBTs, which is like a herringbone pattern. It's just I don't even know, man. It's like until you see it, it is really hard to give you a good idea. So we each have a pretty good budget. Gian was able to sell some of his stuff today at a local store. Like we said earlier, I sold stuff the day before that. I think today is Saturday. I sold it yesterday on Friday. So we each have a pretty decent budget to go in with. Unfortunately, the connection out there on the dock is pretty spotty, so Venmo is not necessarily an option. It's not a cash only event. Most vendors obviously prefer cash, but a lot of them also do take Venmo. Do you have any like questions? General excitement? I don't know, dude. I'm pumped. I'm pumped.
I'm excited to just see some of the stuff that I've been geeking out on, even if I can't afford it. Like I want to see red lines in person, you know. I want to feel them, even though
Salvage
someone may be
Levi's, bro.
like peering over, like looking intensely. I would
Yeah.
just be like, I can't do this, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, honestly, okay, that's one of the dope things is there are a lot of like old heads for vintage there. And sometimes like just saying you can't afford it but you really like appreciate the piece, that means a lot to them because right, they've spent all this time curating what they're going to bring to the event that it's like, obviously like they have to understand not everybody can afford some of the things they brought, but genuine appreciation for vintage is something that I think is shared by a lot of people in the vintage community, and it's something that's kind of like a quiet understanding,
Mm-hmm.
like something that's unsaid is what I mean. So yeah, like even if you find something like that, just expressing like admiration and like enthusiasm about those pieces is something that I know goes a long way, and I'm not gonna lie, expressing that and sharing a little bit of your own personal knowledge and asking for some more. If you see a cheaper piece nearby, go for it after. Because if you try to haggle, after you've had that conversation with them, they're definitely a lot more receptive to offers, which is cool.
For sure, man. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
I think this is a good place to end it.
Yeah, yeah. Really good first episode. You know, in terms of like how often we're going to be doing this, I'm not too sure. I want to see if maybe we can figure out a way to do it over Zoom, because unfortunately we don't get to do weekends like this too often, like both pretty busy schedules. But if I can figure out a way to do like maybe a recorded Zoom, we could try to do that, something like that.
Or we can sneak us into like the library.
Yes, dude, I would love to do that on campus. Because, okay, right now we're at about 50 minutes, it looks like. Generally, when we're in the study rooms, we're there for like an hour, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be so down to do it at campus. But yeah, pretty good place to stop at. Like I said, I will be hopefully dropping both this podcast episode and the vlog for the weekend around the same time on my personal YouTube channel. It's just my name, Zachary Miller. But yeah, I think we'll sign off here. Thank you so much for listening to the first episode of the Volume Up podcast. Once again, I'm one half of your host, Zach.
And I'm Gian. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Peace.